Charger, I still touch Sri Shimad, Divine Loving Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Eternal Vishnu Bhag, Paramahamsa Brave Japa Charger, I still touch Sri Shimad, Divine Loving Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Thakur Premanande, all glories to the symbol of goodness, all glories to the symbol of goodness, all glories to the symbol of goodness, all glories to those to the Sri Guru, the Sri Guru, Jai from. So, we'll read from Bhagavad Gita, and we'll discuss Bhagavad Gita. So, I hope that it's simple, these verses, they're coming continuously, so it tells a story and paints a picture. Therefore, you should have something to share about Bhagavad Gita too. It's not just that I'm sitting here and I've got so much to tell you, because that's not true. But I do like the Bhagavad Gita, and so we'll talk about it, and then I'd like you to share your reflections, things of that nature. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're going to read from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 36. I'm still stuck in the Bhagavatam. Give me 1 second. Okay. So, Avaccha vadamscha bahum.
Avaccha vadamscha bahum.
Vadishyanti tavahita.
Vadishyanti tavahitaha.
Nindantas tava samsmartyam.
Nindas tava samartyam.
Tato dukhartaram nukim.
Tato dukhartaram nukim.
Avaccha vadamscha bahum.
Avaccha vadamscha bahum.
Vasijanti tavahita.
Vadishyanti tavahitaha.
Nindantas tava samyartam.
Nindas tava samartyam.
Tato dukhartaram nukim.
Tato dukhartaram nukim.
Avaccha vadamscha bahum.
Avaccha vadamscha bahum.
Vadishyanti tavahita.
Vadishyanti tavahita.
Nindantas tava samartyam.
Nindas tava samartyam.
Tato dukhartaram nukim.
Tato dukhartaram nukim.
Avaccha vadamscha bahun.
Avaccha vadamscha bahun.
Vadishyanti tavahita.
Vadishyanti tavahita.
Nindantas tava samartyam.
Nindantas tava samartyam.
Tato dukkhataram nukim.
Tato dukkhataram nukim.
Avaccha vadamscha bahuna.
Avaccha vadamscha bahuna.
Vadishyanti tavahita.
Vadishyanti tavahita.
Nindatas tava samartyam.
Nindas tava samartyam.
Tato dukkhataram nukim.
Tato dukkhataram nukim.
Avaccha vadamscha bahun.
Avaccha vadamscha bahun.
Vadishyanti tavahitaha.
Vadishyanti tavahitaha.
Nindantas tava samartyam.
Nindantas tava samartyam.
Tato dukkhataram nukim.
Avaccha vadamscha bahun.
Avaccha vadamscha bahun.
Vadishyanti tavahitaha.
Vadishyanti tavahitaha.
Nindantas Nindastastava samarthyam
Nindantastava samarthyam
tato dukkataram nukim.
tato dukkataram nukim.
Mothers, ladies.
Avachyavadanscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha Nindastastava samarthyam tato dukkataram nukim. Avachya
Unkind,
unkind
vadam,
vadam
fabricated
fabricated
words. Cha, also, aham, many, enemies. Nindanta,
Nindanta
while vilifying.
while qualifying
Tava, your samartyam,
samarthyam
ability.
ability
Tata,
tataha
then that.
that
Dukkha, taram,
dukkataram
more painful.
more painful.
Nu,
Nu
of course. Kim,
kim
what is there?
what is there?
Translation. I missed. So the translation is, your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Let's repeat. Your enemies will describe you
Your enemies will describe you
in many unkind words
in many unkind words
and scorn your ability.
and scorn your ability.
What could be more painful for you?
What would be more painful?
Purport by His Divine Grace shall qualify. Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryan. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shimata Sattvadas Goswami Tanam Sattvavilamte Initam Sadabhushnam Bhakti Grantanayam Bhaktiranta Shikshitam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavani Paschat Desitam. So Krishna's speaking to Arjuna. And again he says, your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? So, the relationship of Krishna and Arjuna is so interesting because they started off almost like you can say in an equal situation. They were friends. And we all have a bad day every now and then. It appeared that Arjuna at this point was beginning to have a bad day. Things didn't seem to be working out Arjuna's way. Arjuna is such a famous Olin expert in the field of martial arts, possessor of so many different celestial weapons, just so famous. And now he's about to go into battle. And Krishna has agreed to be the chariot driver of Arjuna. And okay, that we're all right now. But in the course of coming to the point of killing the enemy and starting to fight, Arjuna is looking over at those on the other side, and he just does not want to do his duty. He just does not want to fight. And so the symptoms which are being manifest by Arjuna, just not good. Earlier his skin was burning, his mind is reeling, he's forgetting himself, his bow slipping from his hand, it's bad. It's getting really bad. And so he gave all of his explanations why they shouldn't fight early on. And now Krishna is speaking again about something he said to Arjuna earlier. Earlier, Krishna says to Arjuna, Kutoshma Kashma Lamidam. Where from has this so-called compassion come from? It's not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. This isn't going to take you to the higher planets. This is going to lead you to infamy. So he's chastising Arjuna, and yet Arjuna appears to be so compassionate. And before that it says, Arjuna full of compassion, his eyes full of tears. Then Krishna spoke fine words. So you get a good look at Arjuna here. As powerful as he is at this point, Arjuna is just not able to get it together. And he's also already placed himself in Krishna's care. So the relationship has changed. It's no longer friends. Krishna still his friend, but he's Surit. Now he's his well-wishing friend. And Krishna is taking the position of the teacher, and he's correcting him, he's chastising him. And here, he's not even preaching to Arjuna from the platform of high spirituality, or that you're not your body, your spirit. So he's approaching Arjuna from the platform of Arjuna as a warrior, a kshatriya, explaining that if you leave this battlefield now, they're not going to think that you left because you have such a soft heart. Those who have said so many nice things about you, they're going to think that you've left out a coward or someone. What could be more painful for you than this? So he's trying to excite the real kshatriya spirit in Arjuna. He's pushing Arjuna to the point that Arjuna can move into action. It is action which is being called for. We all have our duty. And Bhagavad Gita is so wonderful because as we listen to the conversation with Krishna and Arjuna, it takes different turns. Sometimes he's explaining karma yoga, jnana yoga. He's explaining bhakti. But really, there's 5 subject matters that he's dealing with in the Bhagavad Gita. And he's dealing with Purusha, Prakriti, Jivatma, Kala, and Karma. He's dealing with the Supreme Lord, his material nature, the Jiva, and that relationship with him. Karma, activity, and Kala, the time factor. So he's explaining this. Why? Because there is a relationship which is unfolding here. And so if one is to have a relationship, one has to have someone again. One has to have knowledge of that relationship. And so this Bhagavad Gita Krishna is explaining the knowledge of this relationship to Arjuna. But Arjuna is now, again, being instructed by Krishna. But Arjuna is trying to act compassionate. And Prabhupada often refers this as so-called compassion. Prabhupada says earlier in the purport, no one knows where compassion should be applied, but compassion for the outward dress of a drowning man is senseless. Real compassion is for the spirit soul. So now, through this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is actually showing Arjuna what real compassion is. Genuine compassion will be explained and expressed through this conversation with Krishna and Arjuna. Why? Because it's been over 5,000 years ago since this conversation took place. But Krishna, out of his great compassion, he let this conversation be heard. This conversation has been written down. Therefore, you and I weren't there. I don't think we were. Not me. We weren't there. But today, all of us get the benefit of being able to hear the entire conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And then Krishna, as he goes through the Gita, he begins to tell Arjuna a few things. He tells him that this conversation, or that to have a relationship with him. It's Guyam. Conversations are secret. But then he tells him, Rahashyam, it's a mystery. And in order to enter into this relationship with Krishna, there is a prerequisite, and it's not scholastic understanding or academic prowess. It's that one has to be a devotee and friend of Krishna. Therefore, it's an open relationship. It's an open conversation. But in order to hear it, we have to open up our hearts. We have to want to enter into a relationship with Krishna. We have to want to be a friend of Krishna. So that is the first secret of Bhagavad Gita. But now that Krishna and Arjuna is speaking, he's rejecting the so-called compassion of Arjuna. I like to look a little deeper at Krishna's and how compassionate Krishna's act is throughout this Bhagavad Gita, as he's educating us in the relationship. As I said, we can now hear the Bhagavad Gita, but his compassion goes further. Krishna himself is really waiting for surrender. He's educating Arjuna so that Arjuna cannot just say, yes, I'll do what you say, but he's educating him. Because he asked him later on, have you heard this with an attentive mind? Are your doubts and illusions now dispelled? I am speaking this for your benefit. Think about it, deliberate it, then do what you wish to do. So he's in planning. He's also arousing the intelligence. And this is Divya-gyan, this is transcendental knowledge. Now that he's educated Arjuna like that, the further compassion I see of Krishna is that, again, he comes himself to help. We know that we have the Gita here. And if we just take shelter of the instructions in the Gita, remember, this is the Supreme Lord. When we hear about Krishna, we're actually associating. When we hear, then Krishna's present. He's present in his name. It strengthens our relationship and our understanding by hearing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. But Krishna doesn't stop there. What to speak of, he says that he's in the heart of everyone. And from him it's coming remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So that's also Krishna. Externally, he tells Arjuna, if you want to really understand this, then just try to learn the truth by approaching my representative, the spiritual master. Make that submissive inquiry and render service unto him. Those self-realized souls will impart knowledge unto you because they've seen the truth. And when you have thus learned the truth, you'll know that all beings are but part of me, and that they are all in me, and that they are mine. So this is wonderful, especially for those of us who are asking ourselves. We constantly have bad days. We're in an environment which is not so conducive for spiritual development. Yet, we want to change the trajectory of our lives. We don't want to just grow old and die, not knowing what happens. Work hard, accumulate some wealth, or aspire to accumulate things. Aspire to find happiness. And miss the real goal of the human form of life. So, as we're moving through the Gita, it's opening us up. We get more and more understanding of the relationship. And first, he's going to explain. Yeah, he's not explaining anymore. You're not this body. You're spirit and soul. He's back to do your duty. But for us, what is our duty? What is our real relationship with Krishna? Don't we want to know? And as I said, there's his compassion coming again. He's coming in this age, which is explained as a very, very bad age. Kalaya dosha, no. Wrong one. Praying upon used to show the Kalavashman Yugajana, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya Jumaduta. This is, in this age of calling, we live with short lives. We're quarrelsome. spiritually lazy, misguided, unlucky, always disturbed. That is the nature. And surely, anyone who's been around the last 30 years or so, you know that life has changed. It's very, very disturbing. Where is the real shelter? Where's the real promise for us? So we go through these pages of Bhagavad Gita and we learn about the relationship. But as I said, this compassion. The compassion goes further because also Krishna was here just 5,000 years ago or so. But what about 500 years ago? Krishna Van Trisha Krishna. That with the descent of Krishna in the mood of a devotee, and the descent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now we're really beginning to understand how compassionate Krishna is. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's coming, he has his associates, but he's got that very special thing. He's got the holy name. He's got Krishna in a very easily understandable form. But before I go to the holy name, I tell you another secret gift that Krishna has given us, a manifestation of his compassion. Just when he told Arjuna, try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Well, lucky for all of us. There was a really wonderful gentleman who came in the 60s, pure servant of Krishna. And he came with some books. And he didn't come on a luxury liner or jet. He came, on a cargo ship with just some books. And he came to Tompkins Square Park and he sat down with some cartels. And he chanted that mantra. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare. And because of this manifestation, we really get to understand Krishna's mercy or Krishna's compassion. What compassion could there be stronger than the gift to the world of Srila Prabhupada? This is just how merciful Krishna is. By giving us Srila Prabhupada, he gave us everything. And Prabhupada made it so simple. Who's got the guts to just come to a place where it's a new land? And as Prabhupada said, those very sinful pillars of life, which he was preaching against, were advertised on billboards. You could see them everywhere. But yet still he came here, not knowing this place, but knowing our hearts, knowing our mentality, and understanding our needs. And in that compassionate mood, he came to give us Krishna. And he gave us Krishna in the form of Nam Prabhu. What could be sweeter? So because of that, because of Krishna's servant coming and sitting down, chanting the holy names, then everything begins to take place. And we were told to just chant this mantra. Just chant this mantra, and your life will be sublime. Chant and be happy. And it almost sounds kind of fairy tale-ish that someone tells you this. We got this mantra, just chant this mantra. You're going to be happy. But now there's experience of chanting this mantra. And that has been explained that we can go from the process of just having a little faith to pure love of God. And many of us, speaking for myself, I haven't found that pure love. I haven't been able to find that. And I've been around for a little while, trying. But what is so wonderful is that whatever you get in this process, it's so good that there's no question of turning back. Even if you haven't attained the desired result, the process of Krishna consciousness is the most wonderful aspect. Just going through the process of actually getting to the point that we find a relationship with the servant of Krishna, Diksha or Shiksha, that we begin to follow those instructions and chant the holy name, and attempt to cleanse our heart of all those unwanted things. And they come up. If you've ever cleaned your room and your room got really dusty, you see a lot of stuff come up in that room. We didn't even see it. When you hit that window sill, what to speak of the blinds? Whew, dust starts flying. So when we attempt to go into the heart, it gets a little difficult sometimes. Things that we never imagined were there. Desires, unwanted things. They're there. But we go on chanting. Why? Because this is the gift that Srila Prabhupada gave us. This is the form of Krishna. And as we chant that mantra, we find out that we're not getting what we really wanted. Therefore, we have to really begin to chant the mantra. We have to chant the mantra like it's Krishna. We have to call him like he's Krishna. We have to serve him like he's Krishna. Then the change happens, just like that Anartini Vritti. And I'm speaking from a platform of a not pure devotee. So I'm not speaking from a high platform. I'm speaking from a platform like anyone sitting in the audience. But I do also have to add testimony that this process does work. I have faith that the process works. The scriptural injunctions explain that it works. Srila Prabhupada explains that it works. But we change. We change. So the proof is in the pudding. You have to taste it. Prabhupada says you have to open the jar of honey. So this gift of Nam Prabhu, this is a strong one. Because as we begin to chant the holy name, we begin to think about helping others. But when something is really good, when it's really good for others, the first real compassion, Satru Maharaj explains this in his book called Compassion, Vaishnava Compassion, the first thing we do is we take it ourselves. If it's so good for other people, take it for ourselves. We take the mantra. We take the association. We take the shot of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. We take that Vaishnava Seva. Then, in the Bhagavatam, because there's so many clues that's around, in the Bhagavatam it says, Shushu Shro Shradanasha Vasudeva Kataruchi. Just by serving the lotus feet of the Mahatmas, the great souls, it says a great service is done. And from that great service, one gains an affinity for hearing the message of Bhagavan, of Vasudeva. So this gaining an attraction for hearing the message, now Jeev Jagata, we begin to wake up. It's no longer a story or itihasa. It's no longer just a history. We're hearing differently. Our ears are open. So we're drinking. It's sweet. It's nectarian. Much tita matkata prana, bojan tak parashparo, katayan tas chamam nicham, tushanticha, romanticha. Krishna says further in the Bhagavad Gita, those thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully surrendered to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss by always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So this is what we get with Krishna Katha. By talking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, we begin to get a taste. And spiritual life becomes alive. It begins to work for us. Bhagavad Gita is no longer a book, an itihasa. Bhagavad Gita is alive. And when we listen closely, Krishna is speaking to us. Just as Arjuna was able to listen to a conversation that we know took place thousands and thousands of years ago. We're hearing that conversation, but it had an effect on Arjuna. The effect was he said, yes, I have understood and I'm ready to act by your grace. That was the effect that Bhagavad Gita had on Arjuna. What is the effect that this Bhagavad Gita is going to have on us? When we come to the temple, do we see stone and wood, or do we see their lordships? When we see devotees, are we ready to hear from them? Are we ready to serve? Do we actually believe these are Krishna's servants? So the whole process of Krishna consciousness is simply wonderful. And we start from somewhere, so we start from that relationship. Bhagavad Gita. We start from that relationship of Sambandha. We don't know what our Siddhadeha, what our eternal relationship with God is. But we do know that we're eternal servants of Krishna. And that, yes, this Krishna is a person. Oh, and that relationship that we're looking for, hoping that someone loves us and that we can love someone, it's already there. Even before our manifestation, we've been loved before we ever came here. Because we're part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna loves the Jiva. So he's constantly coming. He's constantly sending. One form after another. And he's staying with us in the heart. So that compassionate gift of Nam-Prabhu, if we sit down and take it serious and call him, we've got his name. If we call him, and remember he's right there in the heart. If we call him and try to go deep, then he reciprocates. Other than that, I like an explanation which is given by Satchidananda Swami. I explained this the other day, that if we don't plant Nam-Prabhu and the meaning of the mantra deep within our subtle body, then we can lose it. What I mean is that when the strong winds of the mind come, and we're not really fixed, then we're off. We're off to the races. What goes? Our consciousness goes. If our consciousness goes, are we really here? Are we present in the name? So when our consciousness goes, we've gone off to the races. But if we plant it deep, if we say, no, I'm going to chant this mantra, and I'm going to put it in my mind. Actually, I'm going to go deeper. I want to put this mantra in my subconscious, in the intelligence. Plant it deeper. I'm going to put it in the subconsciousness. Go deeper. I'm going to put it there with my false conception of self. And then, when those winds of those material desires, when they come, when those strong breezes blow, it's not so easy to throw us off our course. We remember that not only the name of Krishna, but I'm your servant. I'm in a relationship with you. This is the ultimate relation. This human form of life, when used properly, is a benediction. So this benediction is that I again can establish that relationship. As you move back through the pages of Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna speaking to you, it's personal. It's gotten very personal. Just as Arjuna Anugas, he's speaking to us. He's explaining to us about the activities that we perform. They have a reaction, He tells us how to stop the reactionary work. You don't want good karma or bad karma. Get rid of all karma. We'll take Krishna karma. So he explains that. And then he explains that there are other processes, in a whole yoga section. But yogi nama sarvesham. First he tells Arjuna to become a yogi. But then he says, but of all yogis, the one who abides in me, thinks of me within himself, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That's my opinion. And the real perfected yogi, what does he get? If he gets Brahman realization or Paramatma realization, ultimately, if he gets the association of the devotees, what does he get? His eyes become tinged with the sound of love. So Prabhupada says, Premanjana Surita Bhakti Vilochanena. And he sees that same Shamasundar that the Bhakta sees. So it's a process. What to speak of the fact if we just engage in the service of the Lord, under the guidance of the spiritual master. If we just take to devotional service, then everything becomes revealed to us. So if you put in 10 years, 20, 30, 40, In the light of eternity, it's nothing. So if the result that we're looking for hasn't come, don't be shocked. But you should have some depth realization, some shallow realizations that this process is so wonderful. As you hear the conversation in the Bhagavad Gita, it should enthuse us. We want to hear more. And if you find that you're weak, that you have other desires other than Krishna, okay, so do I. Tell him he's a person. He's a person. Confess to Krishna that you're weak, that you don't see how you can do it. And just like a father is kind to his son, Krishna is so kind. You saw what happened. Arjuna became empowered. One person, Srila Prabhupada, came here. There's temples everywhere. We're not talking about America, we're talking everywhere. The name of Krishna is being sung. Seriously, the process is being taken. One person. It's true. He had the whole parampara with him. He had Krishna with him. But this is the empowerment. You saw Arjuna became so victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra. So the empowerment is just not for those great souls. We become empowered every time Krishna answers our plea. All attractive Lord, oh Radha, hey Krishna, please engage me in your service. Please use me. Every time we do that, every time we find out that my life has changed and I'm being moved by the internal potency, then you understand that's an empowerment. And to the extent that we continue to attempt to do it, we become used and used again and again. We want to be exploited by God. Temple president really isn't that bad. That's true. We're really here to be engaged in the service of the Lord. Once we're engaged in Krishna's service, Maya can't touch us. Because we're protected. It's either Krishna or Maya. There's not really a gray area. The gray area is in our mind. So Bhagavad Gita gives us the clarity, it gives us the strength, it gives us the faith, the determination to change that life. It gives us that relationship that we've been looking for, relationship with the Supreme. So I told you, I would talk some about the Bhagavad Gita. I do like the Bhagavad Gita. I remember as a young man living outside, all I had was the Bhagavad Gita. Everything else would be suffering. So, you know that Arjuna's compassion was looked at as so-called compassion. Why? Because he was trying to really avoid doing his duty. Krishna, although he spoke to Arjuna differently, he was using the situation of Arjuna as a warrior to arouse within Arjuna the fact that a real Kshatriya can't stand, a real warrior can't stand for his peers to think that he's left because he's a coward. Get up, wake up, fight. I don't care how you do it, just do it. So he was motivating him. But for us, whatever it takes, we too want to understand that there is compassion, there is genuine compassion, and compassion is coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, opening up for us the relationship. So now I'm going to ask, is there anything that you can share? Do you have any reflections, any realizations or questions that you can share at this time? Hare Krishna. Yes? And you have to speak loud because my body's breaking down. It's not just the knees. The ears don't work that well either.
Thank you, Harish. So I liked the particular point you made about how Bhagavad Gita is a way of Krishna telling Arjuna to build up that relationship, Sambandha Gnana, and how we could use it to also build up a relationship with Krishna. So I liked that point.
Good. Because it's real. Because he's told Arjuna, later he says, and he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by means of intelligence. So real intelligence, once our intelligence, once the light is cut on, Om Gana Timaranda Shah, Gananjana Shah. We were born in ignorance, in the darkness of avidya. But Krishna has opened our eyes, Guru. We've been opened up. And Bhagavad Gita, that way Krishna's being the Guru. And he's explaining that there is a relationship if we want it. And even if we don't think we want it, get around someone who does, and it will change. Association is powerful. Yes.
Yep.
Yes?
So, Arjuna was giving many reasons not to fight the war. He said, Kulakshaya pranasayanti kul dharma sanatana dharma naste kulam krishnam adharmo abhivatayata. Adharmo abhivatayata pradesanti kula striya strisu dusasu varsanya jayate varsana sankara. Sankaro narkayava kul ghanan kulasya patanti pitaro hetam lupta pindo kriya. So, about the women, all the men will be killed and the women will be unprotected. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said Arjuna is saying not to fight the war. Then Krishna is saying that Nanu Sachantu Pandita, you are thinking like a Pandita. So there in the Bhagavatam, in the 3rd canto, 30th chapter, so Krishna in the incarnation of the Kapila Muni, teaching to his mother, Devahuti, every time women should be protected either by the father or by husband or by the son. So here he is saying that to kill the men, and there he is saying to be women to be protected. So how there is the conflict. So how
you're saying it appears contradictory. Well, first of all, everything is according to time, place, and circumstance. And women are always to be protected. So Arjuna was Arjuna saying that if the elder members, if you kill the elder members, then the women won't be protected. He's just trying to avoid doing his duty. He's trying to, although he's using scriptural injunction, he's being ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is telling him to do it. Higher than religiosity, the Dharma, is the instructions of the Supreme Lord. Krishna was personally in prison. Krishna says, there's Karna, kill him. There's Bhishma, kill him. So he expected Arjuna to do what he wanted to do. And for us, that's the whole point about activity. When we perform our actions out of duty, that's good. And if we're detached, we don't incur sin. It's nice karma. But when we do it for Krishna, when we do it in a detached way for Krishna, that is the highest. That is possible. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, our ultimate general is given the instruction. Don't second guess him. He knows what the scriptural injunctions are saying. So you do your duty. You do it. You kill him. Krishna says, I've already killed him. Time I am. So in time they're going to be wiped out anyway. And you saw what happened. Krishna can protect everyone. He's the ultimate protection, the ultimate shelter. And as far as Devahuti, it is Lord Kapila Dev, it is the right instruction. And we should try to follow like that. Bhagavad Gita, the Battle of Kurukshetra, was a very specific situation. Krishna is there, Krishna is instructing, follow it. Yes? Yes, Mother?
So you were talking a lot about Krishna, or Arjuna doing his duty, and that Krishna was telling him you need to do your duty, your kshatriya. And thinking about, in the modern world, and obviously we don't have, Krishna's not sitting on the chariot next to us telling us what our duty is and what we're meant to be doing. So, drawing from the Bhagavad Gita, how do we define our own duty in life?
Jivesh Rupahaya, Krishna Nichadas. We're all eternal servants of Krishna. our first duty, even if we don't know anything specific, we just, we serve Krishna. You're Krishna's eternal servant. All of us are. So our first duty is to try to find a way to surrender to the process of Krishna consciousness under the guidance of the spiritual master. And the spiritual master, he doesn't have to be physically present. When Srila Prabhupada was on the planet, not many people didn't see Srila Prabhupada. You heard the temple president. You heard the temple commander, the Sankirtan leader. And so we take shelter of the instructions. We take shelter of the process, and we take shelter of the instructions of the spiritual master. Our specific duty in Kalo Sutra, some of us, we're all less than Shudra, in this age. So we're not so gifted. But as an aspiring Vaishnava, we can do anything. And their natural propensity will eventually show. The first thing is to take shelter of the person in Krishna consciousness. The one thing you do know about what your duty is that we're servants of the Supreme. So first get ourselves situated in that service. Because absent from that, we're just serving our senses. We're being pushed around by the illusory energy. There's no hope. So those things will become more revealed to us. But both things can happen. Your natural nature you can be engaged in that way, but if not, we try to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Like that. What do you think? Vishnu's there.
All those things that Arjuna cited in the first chapter, which were reasons you shouldn't fight, they were true. They were all true. They were dharma, certain kinds of dharma. You shouldn't fight with your relatives. You shouldn't kill your grandfather. You shouldn't fight with your teacher. If you kill the man, then the ladies will be unprotected. Those were all dharmas. But Krishna's point in the Bhagavad Gita is not do your duty, but that prime duty, the most important duty, is to serve me, serve Krishna. That trumps all other dharmas. Therefore, he said, Sarva dharman parityajya. All those other dharmas give up mam ekam sharana, and surrender to me. And Srila Prabhupada said, okay, that same instruction that Krishna gave in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Chaitanya gave the same instruction. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. There's no difference between those two. So we know that Krishna, the way to serve Krishna, the beginning way to serve Krishna is to hear and chant the holy names, like you said.
Okay. Our time is up. Thank you so very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Let's thank our Yashra Prabhu once again. Hare Krishna, everyone. So tonight, our Sunday feast was cooked tonight by our temple devotees. So let's thank them. You see them, acknowledge them, say thank you. They take care of the deities every morning, early in the morning. They are here during the week. They take care of the temple services. So when they cook on Sundays, it's a little extra thing that they do. So it makes it a little extra sweet. So thank you, temple devotees, for cooking today. We don't have a Sunday Feast sponsor this evening, so if anybody is interested in sponsoring the Sunday Feast, that is available. You can make a sponsorship at the front desk if you're interested. A couple weeks ago, I had mentioned we needed volunteers for our Valentine's Day fundraiser, and we got a really good turnout of volunteers. A lot of people came forward and they helped with Pujari services, deity services, cooking services, driving services, services for making flower arrangements. And annually, this is our big fundraiser that we do throughout the year. And it's important because this is the money that goes to Krishna that helps support Krishna's temple. And a lot of people really came through and pitched in. It was a really great sign of community effort. I did want to recognize, though, a couple key devotees in this. When I say key, I mean these were kind of like the backbone. You know, without everybody came, a lot of people came together, as always appreciated, but without the effort of these individuals, we really wouldn't have been able to do what we did. So I would like for you to know who they are, so you can feel appreciation for them as well, because it is important. They made tremendous sacrifice. So I'd like to call up those devotees. First one is Ganapati Prabhu. If you can come forward, please. Come forward. Please come. Also, Suhit Garanga Prabhu. And Nishinga Chatterjee. Please come. Please come. I know you're trying to get out. It's okay. And also Lalit Prabhu. He went to India on Friday. So he wasn't able to obviously be up here, but he just went to India. These devotees went out for over 12 hours a day, day after day. They made flower arrangements in the basement and went out and sold them, came back, little sleep, completely different system and regulation. It's winter time out there, dealing with people all day long, and they did it day after day after day after day. And due to their hard efforts, the temple was able to raise over $20,000. So we had garlands to garland everybody, but somebody swiped the garlands. So we're going to garland them with the holy names. So please join with me as we chant the Hare Krishna and garland them. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I join us all in saying thank you. I also wanted to mention earlier in this month, actually late January, our ISKCON of Philadelphia Board of Directors, we met. It was our annual meeting, and I wanted to give some of the outcome of that meeting. This will also be published in our newsletter. But as an outcome of that meeting, I'm happy to mention that Vallabhaja Prabhu, along with the support of the board, has agreed to stay on to lead us as temple president for another year. Also, His Grace Kaivaya Prabhu and Ramcharan Prabhu, they're also going to be serving and continue their terms as board members. So we see these devotees. Again, this is leadership position. They serve an important role in our community as leadership and oversight. A lot of the things we don't see on a day-to-day that take place there's a whole system to that, and we're thankful for their service. So please, when you do see those devotees, please acknowledge them for the sacrifices that they make for our temple. Gaur Purnima, the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. So this auspicious day, the full moon night, is going to be on March 9th. I've made the announcement a couple times already that we plan on starting early at 5 o'clock p.m. There will be an Abhishek, and it'll be earlier, so don't think you're going to come at 7:30 and be able to see the Abhishek. It'll be earlier, probably around 6 o'clock. So plan on coming, at 5 if you could. If you can take off of work a couple hours early, half a day, or even if you would like to take off the whole day. You see this in a lot of people do this of religious traditions. Now, if you're Christian, you always get off for Christmas, you always get off for Easter, you always get off for the major holidays. But a lot of times, you see Muslims and Jewish friends, they take off on these days that may not be public holidays. And this is also an offering to Krishna. You're sacrificing, say, a vacation day, a personal day, a sick day maybe, to giving Krishna service. There's a lot to do here, and especially on these days, these are these are very powerful days to do service. So if you come, there'll be lots to do. You can help us prepare the kitchen, help us prepare the temple room with decorations, and then we're also preparing, based on the weather, we can go out and do an activity that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought to this world, and that is Harinam Sankirtan, where you can go out on the streets and give people the holy name. So again, that's March 9th. If you're interested in contributing to that festival, sponsoring the feast, garlands, decorations, etc., you can do so at the front desk. Sean, any more information? Okay, so we are going to... one last thing. One of the devotees, he's no longer a child, but he grew up here. But he went through the whole Sunday school program, and then he went to the West Coast for college. Raja Kolaroo, Mother Shobha Radhe's, Surya Kolaroo, and Venkat Kolaroo's son. He recently got a job, and he really wanted the blessings of the devotees, and he wanted to give a $500 donation to the temple. It was from his first paycheck, and he was really excited that he came through the whole program here at the temple, and he finally got established in life and gave his first paycheck to the temple because he really felt. So he wanted the blessings of the devotees. He really wanted. He feels connected to this temple, but he feels he's, but a bit distant, from us. But he did ask that he give, if we could all kind of say a prayer for him. So let's, in front of Shri Shivana Sharpihari, his beloved deities, let's raise our hands and chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're going to end with the prasadam prayers before we go take prasad. The Sunday school children will lead us.
Okay, for those with little pious credit, faith in Mahaprasad, Sri Govinda, the holy name, and the Vaishnavas never rises. O Lord, this material body is a place of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Somehow we have fallen in this ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world. But you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us, and have given us such nice prasadam to control the tongue. Now we take this prasadam to our full satisfaction, and glorify you, Shri Shri Radha and Krishna, and in love call for the help of Lord Chaitanya.
Hare Mahaprasadam ki.
Don't